discussion, respect, integrity, truth, science, and discovery. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello, and welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I'm your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown. I'm presenting episode 26 this evening concerning smudging and cleansing. Negative energies, negative entities, people, spaces in your home, all of that stuff we're going to be talking about tonight. We may even, there's a lot of stuff that kind of falls under that umbrella. I guess you can kind of associate theological practices like holy water, burning of incense, stuff like that in there as well. I don't know as much about that, but we can talk about it. And if you are watching this and you know a lot about the Catholic practice or the stuff concerning cleansings spiritually, when it comes to Catholicism, let me know. But we're going to go over to the girls and introduce them as we always do. What's up?
Hi.
Are you a good kitty?
Yeah. All right.
My cat had more kittens again.
Do I get one of these kittens?
You get 7. Take them all from me. Are you ready to talk about cleansings and smudgings and all that stuff?
Yes.
All right. I have you all unmuted today. Everybody can hear everybody. Makes me happy. How are you, Jess?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm glad. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. We're all 3 ready. So if you don't know the drill, if you have any questions, any comments about what I'm talking about or the subject matter, periodically through the show, I will check in with the girls. Missy is on Facebook and Jess is on YouTube. We will read off your comments. We will shout you out if you comment so you can be part of this live stream and part of this discussion. We will try to answer your questions as much as possible, and we'll have fun talking about all the interesting topics and things we love about the paranormal. So, here we go. All right. I come from a Native American background, so what I know about smudging and cleansings stems from that knowledge. Outside of that, I only know about what I read. I don't have a lot of experience and hands-on knowledge about them, but I know some. I know the basic principles of what cleansings and smudgings are, what they do, and what my opinion is concerning about how they work. It's a very fascinating subject. I'm going to start this show off with a story. It kind of describes a scenario that made me start thinking about how they work, why they work, and realizing the power behind it. So, before we get into the story, I will give you a brief history. From my research, humans once they started figuring out how to make fire, they very soon after started burning things, and not just for cooking and not just to destroy and to tamper with and experiment with. They were burning things for all sorts of reasons. One of those reasons, very, very soon after we started figuring out how fire worked, was for blessings, ceremonies, and for religious practices. There was already a lot of spiritual beliefs going on at the time. In my opinion, we don't really know when we discovered how to, catch things on fire purposely. So I think it stems all the way back from there. But as far as what I could read, the cultures in the East, way before Christ, we're talking about 12, 24, maybe even 30,000 years ago, Eastern cultures started using cleansings and burnings of things, okay? And they didn't only just burn herbs and incenses, they actually burned these things that they wrote prayers on. And when I first started researching this, they would have these little slips of paper in Eastern cultures they would write a prayer on, and they would burn them in a little box, a little prayer ceremonial box, and that was supposed to how they got their prayer or their message to their loved ones up into heaven where they were. I thought that was cool and very interesting. And they also, did the burning of the different types of incenses and herbs and other things. So when the Native American people, we believe that they migrated from the east over the land bridge from, Asia over to Alaska, and they kind of spread down south from there and all over Canada and to the Americas. And they brought that part of the culture with them, but it changes as if time goes on. So the herbs and stuff burnable there, like wood chips and different types of wood, the plants and herbs that are indigenous to the area where the natives are at, that's what they burn. And from my research, these herbs and things that they burn vary. What could be taboo for one culture could be spiritual for the other. Different herbs and different kinds of wood can mean different things and be used in different ways. And that's interesting, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. But basically how it works is the general belief behind the action behind burning the material like the wood and the plants is the Native American culture, and even the Eastern natives believed that there were spirits within everything, and the spirits within the certain plants had properties, and a lot of those properties are spiritual in nature, and they clean. Okay, so it's not only acting upon spiritual energies, but it's acting upon our energy as well, and the energy in the environment around them, and even in objects. Okay, so the burning of it is the releasing the spirit of that, and that comes from the Eastern cultures, from what I could tell. And if you guys have any knowledge about this, please put them down in the comments, and we'll go through it. But they're releasing the spirit and the energy from the plant, and that's the active ingredient in what is happening. Now, of course, there's other things happening too. There's a psychosomatic response, and a response the human brain has when it comes to smelling certain pungent and very powerful smells. And we just found out not too far back that the smoke from white sage is actually an antibacterial agent, and it actually does kill, bacteria. So I find that very interesting that it does that. Now I'm not for sure, but there's other plants that you can burn that do kill bacteria as well, but I don't know what they are. But I'm sure that there is. It's not just sage. So that is very interesting to me. My story about how I found out that burning sage definitely works and is real. I've told this story before on shows, and probably on my shows too. I was experiencing something very paranormal at a home I shared with my first son's mother and her brother, along with some other people. We all pretty much partied at my first son's mother's brother home. And one night, I picked this guest room, and it had a twin bed there. So I was like, I'm just gonna crash here. It's away from everybody. I'll probably get some sleep. So I'm trying to sleep in this bedroom, and I can't sleep. I don't know why. I toss and turn. I just can't go to sleep. And after a few nights, I had a sensation of being stared at intensely. This is not something like, I just don't feel comfortable. I feel like I'm being watched. This was like I was absolutely certain that someone was physically there staring at me, but I just couldn't find out where they were from. I would look over where I felt it from, nothing there. I even heard a buzzing sound after a while. Couldn't find where the buzzing sound came from. It sounded like a transformer buzzing. Couldn't find anything. After a while, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't sleep. So I got tired of it. I rounded up my kid and his mother, and I went 40 minutes to the next town where my mother lived, and I slept at her house. And that's the only time I could get some sleep. The only other place I could stay. So after about a week of this, I had enough. And I just decided, hey, I'm just going to stay at my mom's because I can't sleep at the other house. So at this time, I was used to going to bed around 3 or 4 in the morning. Okay, so I'm up at like 3 in the morning. And my girlfriend, my kid's mom at the time, she comes in. She's like, Justin, someone's staring at me through the bedroom window. She insists that this is happening. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll go out and check. She's not leaving me alone until I do. I go outside. I check all around the house. Nothing's there. We live out in the middle of nowhere in the country, surrounded by hog farms. Nobody, right? So I tell her there's nothing. Go back to sleep. Same time, the next night, just like clockwork, she wakes up, goes in there, and says, "Hey, there's someone staring at me again." So I go into the room. I flip on the light to take a look, and amazingly, there's this a formation of energy, I'm going to call it. Okay, and the best way I can describe it is, it looks like some type of light manipulation, kind of similar to where light goes through an aquarium or water, and it's got kind of that wavy property to it. And surrounded to the outside around this formation is this staticky aura. It kind of reminds you of the static you will see on a TV that's not broadcasting anything. But it's totally transparent or translucent, whatever way describes that. And it's kind of just hovering up and down slowly right there. And I'm looking at this thing like, whoa, am I tripping balls? What's going on, right? So all of a sudden, right after that, these orbs of light that my mom would describe that would come visit her from the fields ever so often came into the house and started encircling this formation that I was seeing, this anomaly, manifestation, whatever. And at that point in time, I was really thinking I was hallucinating. But my girlfriend at the time, she was saying she's seen the exact same thing. So when the lights came in, it kind of neutralized the oppressive nature of whatever this thing was. It started to move. It started to act differently. So I examined this thing, and make a long story short, it moved around the house for about 5-10 minutes. It let me walk into it at a certain period after a certain period of time, and it felt really cold and hot, like icy hot. And then it diminished. It went away. So I report this to my mother, naturally, and her landlord was a shaman in the Native American community, so she came over and she cleansed the house, and she asked questions about where we came from, did we bring anything with us from wherever we came from, because we were explaining the haunting from the other house. And she found out that, we took a picture from a party from down there at her brother's house. We pull it out of the album. We show it to her, and she's like, aha, this is where it's from. She takes the photo and smudges the photo with the smoke. And she says, okay, now it's going to go back to where it came from 10 times more powerful. I'm like, okay, whatever. This woman's a joke. This is crazy. This isn't real. Well, it happened. All right, it happened exactly the way she described. It stopped doing what it was doing at my mother's house, and it went back to there. And when we were talking to the people that still lived at that location, one of the people who saw this entity explained the exact same thing I saw, and I didn't describe anything to her. I didn't say I even seen anything. So I knew I was actually seeing something real, and then the smudging and the cleansing of my mother's place had an effect. So I was in awe about it and very, very curious after. So that is my experience, and I've been using the same practices and studying it ever since. And I would like to know what you guys think about your experiences with it, about your research with it. But before we do, we're going to go do some shout outs and talk to you folks. Who's going first tonight?
I guess I'll go first
Okay.
because Justin's still muted. I've got RJ Murphy. I've got Derek Schreiner. I got Bill Davis. I've got Heather Elliott. I've got Becky Compton, I think. I've got Chiefland Paranormal. I've got Matt Benton, Josh Bender. Daniel Everson, Jamie Hunt, Matt Fioli, and the only comment has been Matt, and he said, "I think you were smoking balls, Justin, LOL."
Tripping balls.
Tripping balls, yeah, that's what he
Yeah.
said.
Smoking balls has a totally different meaning, right?
Whatever, you could have been doing either, who knows?
What kind of balls you smoking, Justin? Some serious balls.
Right.
All right, well, thanks for joining us over there on Facebook. Like I said, I would love to know if you've had any experiences with where smudging or cleansing a person, a area, an entity had an impact. YouTube, what's going on with YouTube?
We have Sam and Sandra, and no comment. Sandra did say to Missy, cute bunny ears. She thinks that's the bunny. She's a cat, Sandra, but it is still cute. But that's it.
She's a bunny cat.
Bunny cat.
All right, well, thanks for joining us on YouTube. Feel free to share this, guys. Get everybody in here we possibly can. Becky just made a comment if you wanted to read that off. Let's see.
I don't think. Do I see it?
It's on my screen.
Okay. I smudge everything. I use sage, mugwort, lavender, cedar, rosemary, and pine.
I just recently got white sage with mugwort from Cindy from Sear, that Dayton team. I have not yet tried mugwort yet, so I'm eager to.
Chief Lynn just said I last used white sage spray and it worked aces.
Yeah, the spray is good for people that have problems breathing and for sorry, I'm off screen, for birds, because birds are bad when you burn the smoke around them. It's bad. So
Becky said that mugwort will relax you.
that's what I heard. We're also going to talk about this new stuff I got. I want to make sure I'm saying it right. Let me Google it real quick because I can't. I have trouble remembering the name of things sometimes. Cleansing. See if I even spelled this right. Probably not. Oh, there we go. There we go. Palo Santo wood. I have seen this used a few times, and I'm curious. It's got a very holy fragrance, and it's supposed to work for a little bit of the darker energies. So this is supposed to be really good. It's called Palo Santo. It's hard for me to remember that for some reason. I do not know why, but I'm going to try that. But what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about why I think it works. And we're going to get into the realms of the mind over matter. And we're going to get into, we're going to talk about how magic works. Not, stage magic, but actual magic. Yes, I do believe that there is such a thing called actual magic. And I have talked to a few people that I respect and trust in the field of the occult, and there is something to it. Okay, and when we're talking about cleansing and smudging, this involves that. So first things first, the mind is what really matters. Okay, faith, belief, intent. The sage, the Palo Santo wood, the incense, they're all tools. What are you looking for, Christy? You're highly distracting, honey. Okay, they're all tools, okay? The mind is pretty much what matters. Is if you believe in what you're doing and you have something to focus on and get the intent out there, it is very powerful. How powerful is it? Well, there's two things that I want to talk about. Thing number one, placebo effect. If you believe in something going to work strongly enough, it works. To what magnitude is yet to be understood. But thing number two involves actual manifestation, physical manifestation, and a manifestation or an effect that actually works. Okay, and what I mean works is the phenomena that was occurring at my mother's home and to me and my girlfriend at the time, for example, it actually had an effect, not only through my perception, but through the perception of others who were living at that place where the energy went back to, or the entities. Okay, so it wasn't just me thinking or perceiving that was the case. It was them reporting it too. So this is what solidified and validated all this for me. So magic, the occult, all these things, they can be used for good and can be used for bad. Okay, I want to make that point. But my belief in this is that whether you call it a psychokinetic effect, whether you call it magic, whether you call it spiritual practices, it does not matter. It's semantics, right? The mind is what's doing this. The belief in it is what's doing this. Okay? That explains why some native cultures will use a certain type of plant differently, and the other one over here across the river uses a totally different thing to do the same thing. So it really doesn't matter what you use. Okay, it's the intent, it's the belief and faith behind it. And what I've learned through my doing smudges and cleansings for people, that you have to believe in it 100%. And it has to stem through some type of deep-rooted belief in faith. Now, a lot of I didn't find a lot of faith in Christianity and Catholicism or any of the theological practices, but since I came from a Native American upbringing through my mother, since her grandmother was full-blooded Ojibwa, that resonates with me. That belief and culture resonates through my blood, through my being. So when I do these things and I have belief in these things, that's where it comes from. It's not just something I read from a book. It feels part of me. And I think that's essential. Whatever you're doing, it has to feel part of you and it has to resonate. It can't be just something new agey that you just, stumbled onto and you just want to make a life change. It has to come from somewhere deep inside and rooted somewhere from your past, and it's got to be a part of you that's been there for quite a while, in my opinion. Now, of course, you can have a change in your life and your behavior to where you can believe in something with the intent necessary and the magnitude necessary. But that's a little bit more rare and more difficult, I think. So, Missy, did you have something going on Facebook there?
Heather Elliott had a question. She said, someone told me recently, in order for the sage to work, you have to grow it yourself. Is that true, or can you get it from wherever?
It's true if you believe it's true. It's not true if you don't believe it isn't true.
And then someone else in the chat said something about...
Hold on. I will add to that is, depending on the time of year, sage is more potent than others. I do not know when that is. I think it depends on the species and the climate in which you're growing it in, but it doesn't matter what time of year you pick it. Go ahead.
Daniel Everson said dragon's blood sage, which I've never heard of before.
I know that's a scent for incense.
Right.
All right, Google. Google's our friend, right? Dragon's blood sage. Let's see if that's a thing. I know it's because we that's a very popular incense.
Right, because we burned it at the
Okay, here it is. Boy, that looks interesting. Whoa. I don't know if it'll focus on it. It's red.
Wow.
It's red. Never Heard about it, never used it. I'm intrigued. It looks like there's something added to it, though. Let's 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 Amazon compare. Okay, smudging isn't important. Okay, that's just the overall definition. I'll get back to you on the Dragon's Blood Sage.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, but Daniel said there is sage. I buy it at the local Dragon's Blood Sage. He said I buy local sage and Dragon's Blood Sage. He buys it local.
Okay, does he know if there's something added to it to give it the Dragon Blood property, or is it an actual species of sage?
Maybe Dragon's Blood resin is in it. He hasn't answered that one yet. So, Sleeping Tiger Imports.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. I love hearing about stuff I never heard about. That's why I do this show.
Sounds
Awesome.
pretty cool to me.
I like the incense. That's like one of my favorite smells. One of my favorite scents. Anything over on YouTube yet, Jess?
Sorry, the mouse wasn't working. No, not really. Sam just, she said, just to protect yourself and stuff, but that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Okay. Now, when you do a cleansing with sage, when you smudge, the way I learned how to do it is the cardinal directions. You got north, east, south, and west. Okay, and I always do it in a clockwise way. So I start with north, and I do clockwise to east, south, and west. And if you're smudging somebody too, I always hold the sage in my left hand, and I do it in a clockwise way. If I'm spinning around them, I'll spin around them in the same way, or I'll have them turn that way. One or the other. Does that have anything to do anything? I don't know, but I believe it does, so I think that's an important part. I have a few sentences that I recite, and I call it a prayer. You can call it what you will, but traditionally, you're praying to the cardinal directions, and I pray to the spirits of the north, east, south, and west winds, and I ask them to cleanse the space in the home, or cleanse the person I'm cleansing, or cleansing the object. There's a couple little different things that I'm learning from my mother that you can do with certain concentrated things. Sometimes when you're dealing with stairs, you have to do the top and the bottom in a certain way. You'll have to face south, depending on if it's going up. If, like I say, if you're facing south and the bottom of the stairs is south and the top of the stairs you're facing is north, looking down, you have to start at the bottom of the south and north, go down. Okay, it gets pretty tricky. So if you want my advice on that, you can message me or whatever, and I can remind you how I do it. But yeah, that's how I do it, and I go room to room doing that, northeast, southwest rotation to each room. Okay. And depending on who you ask, some people will tell you to open up all the windows and doors in the home. I don't do that until the very end, and I'll open up, like, say, the front door or back door. Usually I do the back door. And usually if you want something to come in through your home, it's through the front door. If you want something to leave, it's through the back. So that's why I do the back. I open up the back door, I take the stick, and I blow on it pretty well and get a really hot cherry on it, and the smoke, get a really good, bellowing smoke to come out of it. Really, really push that outside. I'll walk through the threshold of the door, turn around, close the door, and I will seal the back door with the ash and actually blot out the stick with the cherry on it on their back doorstep. I make sure I leave a line of ash all the way across, and that's what seals them from not being able to come back in. And that's what I do. Sometimes I will use ash on the body in certain places, and sometimes I'll do a form of energy healing with sage. I'll actually get the smoke and I'll put it over certain parts of the body and use the ash in certain different ways with people and objects. So, sounds like magic, right? Well, it is, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter. A lot of people argue and debate. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. It's the intent, it's the belief, how you're doing it. And it's important that you're doing it the same way every time, and you're believing that this ritual, it's got to be ritualistic. It's not like you're just winging it. You can't just do it one way this time and do it another way the other time and expect it to work. It's the ritual characteristics of what you're doing is makes it more effective and more powerful. Excuse me. Oh God, maybe I need to take a puff on this thing. But I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from, and I'm very, very open to what people think about these things I'm talking about, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. Why do you think it works? Do you think it's just the spirit from the plant that's the active ingredient and really nothing else matters? Do you think it's just the power of the suggestion? What do you guys think? Just chime in, girls, when you see comments or questions.
We were talking about the Dragon's Blood Sage. Chieflin Paranormal said it was mixed with Gene Simmons' blood.
Who said that?
Chieflin Paranormal.
That's hilarious.
Daniel said it's white sage with dragon's blood resin in it.
Okay. Makes sense.
And then Becky said I open a window and a door.
A lot of people believe that letting fresh air into the home helps, and I think it does too. And sunlight is another thing that we're going to talk about too. Sunlight has a lot of cleansing and healing properties. Letting light into a home that really doesn't get light is very, very important. Okay. If you got the curtains closed all the time, opening them up, opening up a window, letting sun come in, opening up a windows to your house, letting the breeze come through, ventilating the house. Okay. Those things should be done too. Now, sunlight and moonlight do have magical properties, and they have their place in cleansing, especially when it comes to crystals. Moonlight especially, if you place, crystals and stones in salt water and allow them to be exposed to moonlight, it's supposed to, balance them out, clean them out. So that has been another thing that I've been trying mightily to research and experiment with. And a lot of people have different beliefs on crystals and stones and stuff. I pretty much believe that they channel energy, they magnify it. Some depending on the crystal and the stone used, it influences the energy that surrounds us, and what in certain ways depending on what we're dealing with, whether it be a stone or crystals. Did somebody want to chime in there? Okay, I thought I heard something. So you see a lot of new age type spiritualism with the crystals and the stones being used today, that are vastly different from where the cultures that used them in antiquity used them. And especially a lot of Native American cultures, and even some Eastern cultures that are even older, have a lot of things to say about it. Like for the sage and mugwort, or the sage and lavender, or the sage and sandalwood, you would not find Native American cultures putting those things together in a smudge stick and burning them like we do today. That has changed a lot. But I believe it just all boils down to what you believe, your intent, and how ritualistic you are with it. But I'm very open to comments and suggestions that say something else besides that, or who would completely disagree with that and would have a reason to disagree with that, and I believe why. So let me have it if you do. But what was I going to say? I'm going to go back to the girls and see if I can rethink it.
Well, I've talked out the show. Jess, do you have anything?
I was just going to add that Deity's on and Jen's on.
Yay! Hi, guys. I seen Jamie. She says, I think it's intention, belief, and some help from the universe bring in white healing light. Yes.
Chieflin also said, Chieflin Paranormal, they say once you cleanse it, you made it neutral and you must recharge with good energy.
Yeah.
Your stones.
I believe that there is no right or wrong thing when it comes to your intention and the magic you're doing. I believe it all has power, some little, some a lot. But it does not work how skepticals like to scrutinize it and working, right? It's not like you wave a magic wand and something happens like Harry Potter. That's not how it works, okay? It will not work like that. How it works is how manifestation works in certain ways, okay? If you have a strong intent that you're going to pass an exam, you're going to do things so you pass that exam. Just from the intent, you're going to study, you're going to have a positive attitude, you're going to get a right amount of sleep, you're going to try to do all the things necessary to pass that exam. If you do not intend to pass that exam, chances are you're not going to do it. But what's magical about the mind and about intent and how it manifests is everything that we see. You're staring at something right now that came from someone's mind. Okay, and there it is. It manifests. And how it manifests is not supposed to be magical. It's not supposed to be something supernatural. It manifests in different ways. But when we're talking about how things manifest paranormally, we're talking about things that we do not yet understand and we can't explain using science or any traditional, way of explaining. So that's what's strange. If you're dealing with dark entities or negative spiritual energies, and you use, let's just say theology, for example, if you're dealing with something demonic, you use holy water, you use incense, use anointing oil, stuff of that nature, that stuff is effective too. And I think it comes back to faith. But how it manifests is all through some kind of conscious state. I believe if you read into the physics and the kind of the new age definition of how consciousness manifests reality, I think that there is some truth to that, and then there is some malarkey with that. And I'm talking about the collapse of the wave function, if you've read into the double split experiment. But there is something going on with conscious states manifesting things on certain levels in certain ways. Missy, what do you think when it comes to psychic phenomena and how things manifest and how you deal with certain energies when it comes to smudging and cleansing and stuff like that? Like, what do you do personally to detox yourself, to cleanse yourself? What do you do?
Take a bath.
Elaborate.
I mix equal parts Epsom salts, equal parts baking soda. I go in the bathroom, I light a candle, I shut off all the lights, and I take a bath.
Do you think that your belief mixed with the obvious properties of Epsom salt and baking soda, do you think they both play a role, or is it one or the other?
I think they both play a role.
So it works every time you do it?
Most times, yes.
So
I'm hoping it worked this time.
So when it doesn't work, why do you think it doesn't work?
If I don't have the right headspace, it doesn't work. It's not gonna. I have to go in there and like meditate in the bathtub basically to for it to work 100%.
Now, do you feel like when you go in there and you just can't let go of what you're trying to release and cleanse yourself of? Do you think some things are harder to get over and let go?
Oh yeah.
Some things you like to hold on to, even
Oh
though
yeah.
you're trying to release yourself from it. It's just harder.
Yeah.
So that could be times where that has something to do with it, maybe.
Right.
Okay. What about you, Jess? I'm curious. You've got some of those sprays from Gettysburg, and you've used them.
Yes.
Why don't you tell the
Yes.
viewers about some of the sprays you got, how you use them, and if they work or not?
I got two of them. One was for positive energy, and the other one, I forget the name of it, but it's actually kind of comical. It's like let go of the negative shit or something like that. And I use both of them at the same time most of the time, and I still use them, and it's been 2 months maybe. I don't know. Um, Now when I came back, like I did feel like I was in a completely different mindset. Like completely washed away from it all from using those. And I kept on, and then I started, and I mean, I know I talked to you. I was like, I don't know if it's just my mind or actually if they're really working, but I use them probably about 95% of the time every day. And what she told me, how to use them, you just, and they have like crystals and, some salt in there and all the other oils and whatnot. And I just start from up here and I just keep spraying all the way down. That's what she told me to do. I think they work. So like what you were discussing earlier, if it's in my head that it's working, then it's going to work.
So are they as effective now as they were when you first started using them?
Um, I don't see. I'm not 100%. I mean, for instance, I had to go someplace today, and I didn't like going to. It's just a little city. I don't like city driving, and so I usually use the negative, one just, and then the good energy because anxiety issues, and it does seem to help with that, even with that. But it seems to me like it's starting to not be so I don't know, heavy, I guess you could say. Like it's still there, but it's not like how it was.
I might have an explanation for that. The sprays have a fragrance to them, right?
Yes.
Um, with fragrances, if you keep smelling them and smelling them and smelling them, you're going to desensitize the effects, the psychosomatic in the effects you get just from the fragrance. You can smell something, it can be soothing, it can be calming, and that in
Mm-hmm.
turn will make you feel calmer. If you smell something hideous and disgusting, it's not going to make you feel any better. It's going to make you feel worse. Especially with people with MS. Christy was
Actually,
smelling hand
yeah, and
lotion
actually,
from my hands. She hated the
right.
smell of it, and it made it actually feel ill just because she
Yeah.
didn't like the
Like
smell.
one of them smells really good and the other one's it's not so much.
Really?
And I did, yeah, yeah. I thought didn't you smell them, Justin? I was
If
all
I did, I
excited
don't
and I don't
remember.
know. Yeah. Now the one that I don't think Josh has not had a chance to use it because last time he went someplace, I accidentally gave him one of mine. But it's supposed to help, open up and stuff, and but his smells really good. I know he's listening, but don't tell him I sometimes spray his on me too because it smells really good.
Missy, Chiefland Paranormal Investigations and Research has a question.
Well, Derek has two,
Okay,
and Matt has one, and
Okay, go ahead.
Derek asked, could cleansing just be a way to change the vibration of the location to make it vibrate on a different frequency in an attempt to change the atmosphere and feel of the location?
Yes, everything vibrates, and everything vibrates differently depending on your conscious state. So, just introducing a new person into a room will change the vibration, just like introducing a different note into a melody or a a chord on a guitar or an instrument. It's the same thing. So if you change something about whatever is vibrating, yes, absolutely.
And then Matt asked, why do you believe in the way you do the ritual is also important to do it working? To it working. What the belief, if the belief they were doing it right, I believe it would still work because of the intent by it.
Yes.
And then Derek said, or could cleansing be an ancient ritual to help open another plane of existence in order to send something back to its original plane that we have crossed at some point?
Wow, I don't know about that one. I would need more proof. That would be cool if that's what happened, but I don't know about that one.
And then Chief Lynn's question was, so to me, they are tools, but your mind controls it.
Yes, your mind controls everything. I believe that consciousness came before matter, not the other way around. So everything comes and stems from consciousness. Okay, so yes, it controls it is a word you can use to explain how it works.
And that's all I have for right now.
All right. What's Jen RL Rogue saying there, Jess?
I'm trying to follow their conversation.
Yeah, I just now seen it. I get abducted. They say they work on my
Yeah.
Oh, we're talking about UFOs now?
Yeah, they're talking about aliens.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, because they were talking about Jen, I think earlier said electrotherapy worked on her grandmother, and then it just went from there. They shocked me, telling me the same old DNA storyline.
Okay. I'm going to pretend I didn't see that because that sounds creepy and scary. If you haven't found out by now, aliens terrify me. I don't want no part of them. All right.
I'm gonna catch one and put it in a jar for you
Good luck
for
with that.
Christmas.
Good luck with that. All right. I'm glad to see Daniel and Jamie agree with me. Thank you. Even though if you don't agree with me, I want to hear if you think I'm bullshit, if I'm wrong. I want to hear it because the more and more we discuss these things and gather up and open ourselves up to different points of view, whether aligned with ours, yours, or not, that's the process and the drive to the show. This is why I do it. I never heard of Dragon Blood Sage before, ever. And now I get to look that up. So thanks, Daniel, to that. You learn so many different things talking, to people in these streams, and that is freaking awesome. If I'm not learning something each and every day, I feel like it's the most unproductive turd sandwich that I can eat. I mean, I just, even when I'm trying to lay my head down to sleep at night, I'm constantly thinking, constantly trying to go over things throughout the day, things I've been dealing with, things that I will deal with in the future. Everything is, my brain does not stop, so it's all fuel to keep that force going within me. And now I have you folks to help me do that, and I think it's great, and I appreciate that. And like I said, if you have a particular story or experience that deals with a cleansing you done or anything at all, please let me know. If you don't want to type it out in the comments, email me at justinbrown@interfacedeath.net. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, however you would like. If you call me, I best know you, because I don't want somebody to just start calling me and trolling me, because that's not good. Power is in the word. A lot of people believe that words hold a lot of power. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'm trying to read these comments. All right, so what have we learned today? Can evil entities, dark entities, negative entities be cleansed? I say yes. I say that from a theological standpoint, it's interesting, right? What power do demonic and dark forces have over us? Really? In the beginning, I've learned in the stories and biblical texts is that God wanted the angels to serve man. That's what caused the uprising with Lucifer. So we do have power over those type of forces. They like to trick you into thinking that you do not. They like to trick you and find ways to make you feel powerless to them. They like to lower your energy. They like to lower your vibration. They like to change who you are spiritually, and they like to alter your energy to where it does not vibrate and it does not operate properly. Okay? They want to sink you down to their level. Don't let that happen. The power of mind, the power of faith, belief, intent is yours. And that's why I think that we can have power over these things. A lot of people like to sell the idea that demonic forces, negative forces, dark entities have absolute power over you. That is false. Absolutely 100% false. Okay? A lot of people like to think they only prey on the weak and animals and vegetation and stuff like that. No, that's not right either. Okay? A lot of things you do in your life can attract those types of energies. You know, if you're vibrating a certain way, things that harmonize with those vibrations are going to come into your life. So consider that, you know, consider the metaphysical things in life. Consider the spiritual things. There is a reason why spirituality and those type of beliefs have a lot to deal with our brain. Okay? We deal with death. We deal with mortality. Deal with the death of our loved ones. Horrific, god-awful things. Okay? We have emotions. We're emotional beings. We feel. You know, we deal with everything emotionally. So, when we have to deal with things like death and loss of loved ones and stuff like that, hardships, starving, all kinds of bad disease, we have to cope with it somehow. You can say we make up things to make ourselves feel better. I believe we make up things and they happen. Okay? So when you're thinking late at night about your meaning in the universe, your place, the reason why you're here, it is what you make it. And the power you put behind your life and your intent when it comes to eliminating and vanquishing dark forces and bad things from your life, it's all up to you and the power you give it. So that's how I'm going to end this show. Any last thoughts from the chat? Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. Matt is having a bad boyfriend moment. He said, "Wow, I never mentioned Dragon Blood Sage to you before. LOL. We talk about everything related to the paranormal. It's trippy when I find something we haven't talked about paranormal related. There is a lot of different sages. Haha."
Yeah, there is. Yep. And that's interesting is because I've been Bill Nye the Science Guy for a long time. And I'm trying not to be science guy all the time because that's not explaining a lot of things that are happening. I think eventually it will get there, but it's not quite there. There's a lot of roadblocks and obstacles there. But it's held back by what we can experiment with and prove scientifically. But until we get to that point, I think that it's all possible. It's just not there yet. But keep all the sage, crystal stuff coming, the occult, the magic stuff. Send it my way. If you think I'd be interested in it, you're probably right. Send it all my way. Send me articles, your thoughts, your beliefs, your experiences. Put them in my inbox, please. Jess, anything from YouTube?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look like it. I think they're still having a conversation amongst each other.
All right. Well, thank you, ladies, once again for helping me with the chat. You're very helpful. And I hope you have a good evening. And I'm going to wrap this baby up. All right, guys. Nice discussion we just had. I think there's more to say and more to learn, obviously. But now that we have the topic on your radar, may it plant a seed in your hearts and minds across the interwebs, and maybe it'll lead to the next topic out there. I do have the voting and poll for the next topic of my Paranormal Soapbox. I think it's haunted dolls or poltergeist activity. So if one of those things you want me to talk about, make sure you vote on it. The vote ends next Monday. We have Necromancer at 8 p.m. tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We're having R.J. Murphy, our very own R.J. Murphy, being interviewed on Necromancer. Very cool guy. Lots to learn about him. He is a very interesting person. So hope to see you there tomorrow night at 8. Thanks, guys. I'm going to leave it here. You guys are in my heart. I love you all very much. You mean so much to me. We're going to talk about our patrons. Okay, without them, this show would simply not continue the way it is. Clay Borman, R.J. Murphy, Scotty Fox, Danette Goldtrip, Jessica Bias, and Sherry Brett. Thank you very much. If you don't know about Patreon, it's a crowdsourcing website that allows content creators to have financial compensation from those who follow and consume the content. So if you like this type of content, if you like our paranormal work, please consider checking out patreon.com/support interface death. There's a whole bunch of cool rewards and exclusive content just for those people who do that. Depending on how much you pledge each month, it might get you shouted out on this show. You may end up as a producer in the credits of our videos. So check that out, please. Check us out at interfacedeath.net. Check out Deadlight LLC on Facebook. I'm going to start putting Deadlight's link in the description just so it's easily clicked. But check all that stuff out, please. You guys have a good evening. If you're a first-time viewer, maybe you will stay put where you're at and check out the video promotions that we show at the end of the show. There you have it. You guys have a good evening, and I will see you next time.